right, we're trying it again here. My God. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Hometown Heroes podcast for Sunday, October 29th. How you doing? Yeah, you guys doing okay? All right, I got some good news and I got some bad news. The good news is, as you can probably hear on my microphone right now, I'm going to say probably, because I just did a 10-minute intro of the same nature where I went back and it wasn't. But you can probably tell that my voice sounds like I'm speaking through a microphone now. Yeah, you haven't heard that yet, have you? Except for on the old interviews. The first 3 episodes, the interviews, you could hear it, but the intros, definitely not. Even the one that I said, oh, you can tell that I'm talking, no. So that's the good news. You can hear me talking through a microphone. The bad news is that this next episode with Michael Lenoci, it's pretty bad as far as audio quality goes. It's great as far as content goes. Probably the best. Actually, it is the best one you'll hear so far. Because I finally didn't suck so bad at interviewing. I finally got a flow going, and it worked. Plus, Michael's hilarious. He's great. But yeah, it turns out that somehow the default on my audio recording program defaults to not go with what the microphone that's plugged in. It didn't used to do this. It used to... As you can tell from the interviews, it used to default to where it would just use what you had plugged in. Here lately, it hasn't been, and that's why... Yeah, that's right. If you're putting the two things together right now, you realize that I've been speaking through a microphone plugged in with all this equipment, and what the audio that it's actually using is my laptop microphone. Yeah. Which means this next episode where me and Michael are sitting here talking with headphones and microphone and mixer equipment, everything plugged in. Yeah, we might as well have been speaking with hairbrushes. We might as well have had a couple beer bottles in our hands, speaking into them. Yeah, the whole time I was listening back, I was like, Michael's been a comic for 10 years or so. Does he not know how to speak into a microphone? Why does it sound like he's so far away? It's because he was so far away from my laptop. That's why it sounds like that. So turn it up. I get it if you're like, I can't fucking listen to this. If you get halfway through, you're like, this sound like I can't pay attention to the content because it sounds so bad. I get it, all right? But I would say give it a try. Try to power through it because it's actually a great episode. It really is. And Mike, if you're listening to this, maybe we'll have you back on. We'll do another, like a part 2 at some point for redemption. But whatever, you live and you learn, right? And then on top of this is that I just, I fixed it right. Okay, so I did. Avery Pearson came by yesterday. We did an episode. Great episode, fantastic. Look for that next week. First foreign episode, if you can count Canada foreign. I fixed it like right as he was walking in. I realized what was going on right as he was coming in. So that one's all perfect. It's all great. It's going to be great. And so I fixed it yesterday, and then when I came on to do the intro for today's episode, I thought I fixed it again. I thought since I changed the default setting, I guess it went right back to how it was. So I recorded an entire 10-minute intro a second ago and went back to play it back, and sure enough, still sounded like shit. So whatever. But whatever, you live and you learn, right? How you guys doing? We're at 4 minutes and 20 seconds. Yeah, I'm mentioning it. It's all right. What's going on? What's happening in the world right now? What's happening in your hometown? Out here in my new hometown of Los Angeles, we are working to win that World Series. Who's watching it? Who's watching in this World Series? Amazing. Dodgers are going to win. It's been a couple heartbreaking losses the past couple nights, but last night we got back, so tied it up. Alex Wood killing it. Oh, man. And then tonight we bring back the greatest pitcher of all time, Mr. Clayton Kershaw. Kershaw? It's going to be good. But, you know, we're the bad guys because, you know, Houston's got the... we're the baddies. We're the heel of this wrestling match because Houston's got the hurricane shit, right? Playing off... That's already been done, Houston, all right? New Orleans already won the Super Bowl the year of it, all right? So you can't come... Oh, man. It's early. It's Sunday at 11:30, all right? The game's on. I'm watching the Patriots because my Titans are on the bye. Why do they call it a bye? Anyway, B-Y-E. A bye week? Is it like goodbye? Yeah, I mean, that's that bye, right? It's not B-U-I. B-U-I, I mean. So it's bye, like goodbye. That's such a childish term, right? Bye. We're not gonna play this week. We're gonna say goodbye to the other teams, okay? What is that? Just call it an off week. Vacation, something. Why bye? That's so weird. Silliness. Anything else? Talking about football, talking about baseball. Let's get a good intro to this episode, right? We got Michael Lenoci here. All right, he's a funny comic, doing big things. Keep an eye out for him. He's gonna blow up here soon. He's been featuring for Chris D'Elia the past couple years, I think. At least the past year. This past summer he got New Faces at JFL. That's Just for Laughs in Montreal. That's a big deal. That's the closest thing we have in modern day stand up to the old Carson days. Obviously, it's not the same as Carson, but the idea of like we had something back in the day where if you got on Carson, you kind of that was a cementing that you were gonna be successful at least. You got a Carson spot, and then if he called you over or if he gave you the thumbs up or called you over or whatever. That was like cementing that you were going to be a star, basically. And then that once he was gone, that's never been the same. Like as far as there's not any for better or for worse, honestly. There's not that one particular thing that you can get that will cement your success. But the closest thing I think stand-up has is Just for Laughs, New Faces, and that's been going on for a long time. As just, hey, you know, the industry wants you to be successful, right? They're counting on you. And he got it. So big ups to Mr. Lenoci. Follow him on social media. I think he's just at Michael Lenoci. You know, if I was a good host, I'd probably look that up instead of just saying I think. But I'm learning. For real, this is a great episode, guys. No joke. I encourage you to power through my idiocy of my lack of technical prowess and really try to listen to this because it's great. He does a good job. His hometown outside Fort Lauderdale. Great story, great history. All I'll say is Titan of the Bean Patch. I'll let you guys listen to the rest of that. If that doesn't entice you enough, a lot of his hometown. It's all about having vision and going for that vision, really working hard to get that vision accomplished, and that suits him. That suits Mr. Michael Lenoci because that's kind of what he did too. Right? And he wanted to be a comic. He's coming out here and made it happen. So. I love that. I'm starting to notice that happens a lot with these episodes. I don't know if I already mentioned it. I did Avery Pearson yesterday. That'll be next week's episode, and it's very similar. Very similar. People, it's cool to see how people emulate the stories of their hometowns. Right? I'm really loving this podcast. That's why. Listen, any other thing that I would have done that I would have had this much trouble with. as far as a project goes, like just one thing right after another of shit just not working correctly. I probably would have been like, you know what, screw it. It's not worth the headache. But this podcast, I feel like it actually is. The more people I talk to about their hometowns and like seeing like how it really does for better, whether you love your hometown or you hate it, like it or love it, it really does shape who you become. So please listen to this one and see how Michael Lenoci's hometown shaped him. All right, cool. Stay tuned.
The league's really bad in the East.
Lenoci's Dolphins just beat my Titans. It's really bad.
Do you want me to keep this up here, or can I put
You
it
can
right
do
here?
whatever you want with it. That's there for you.
I'm gonna put it right here. You have a book that says The Comedians.
It's a good
Did
book.
you read it?
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
All right, we're here with Michael Lenoci. Welcome, man.
That's so you just jump right into it.
Yeah, we're here. We're already going.
What's your accent again?
Accent?
Yeah, you have an accent.
Is it Southern? Do I have a Southern accent?
No, but I just realized when I saved your number that you're from Nashville.
Yeah, Nashville. Well, I'm from McEwen, Tennessee, which is another small town, which is what this whole thing is about.
I'm not really from a small town.
You're not from a small town, but everyone's from a small area, right? You're from Miami, basically.
No, like Fort Lauderdale.
Fort Lauderdale,
Suburbs
Miami.
of Fort Lauderdale.
But the suburbs of it. What's it called?
Which population over 100,000.
Yeah, exactly. Coral Springs, Florida. That's
Yeah.
where you're from. You want to hear about it?
I mean, it's your podcast.
Do you know about it? Do you know a lot about Coral Springs?
Yeah, pretty much. It was founded in the 70s, maybe.
60s. All right, here we'll do the little first half of the show. We'll do a little research in on Coral Springs.
This is when you guys go to sleep if you're listening.
Yeah, Coral Springs is a city in Broward County, Florida, approximately 20 miles northwest of Fort Lauderdale.
Who's fucking listening to this?
They're listening.
College
You'll see
students?
this. You'll see.
What the fuck's going on here?
It's the principal city of Miami metropolitan area.
You guys taking notes? Fucking.
70% white and Hispanic.
Sorry about your
20%
car ride
black.
to work right now.
This is great. This is South Florida. You're from South Florida, and I wanted to talk to you about this. You're from South Florida.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been to South Florida.
Yeah.
I've been all around Florida. I've been all around Tampa.
You could be from South Florida. You have a look.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was gonna say. It seems like everyone from South Florida is either like got the Hispanic Cuban look, have that accent, or they just sound like they're from New York.
Northeast.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Northeast. Northeast people settled there, so that's why there's a lot. The grandparents did, and then they raised the baby boomers. The baby boomers those kids settled. Their parents came down because they came from Europe to New York, and then the Europeans retired in Florida, and then raised their baby boomer generation in South Florida.
And you're Lenoci. That's Italian, right?
Yeah.
And you're an Italian New York guy, and you're down in Florida, but you were born and raised in South Florida, right?
Yeah. I have no affiliation with New York at all.
Isn't that funny?
But like my dad lived in Boston for a little bit.
Oh, I can hear a little Boston.
Yeah.
I can hear a little bit of that. All right, so the history of Coral Springs. This is where it gets really good. History of Coral.
Okay, yeah, hold on, guys.
You ready
Make
for
sure you're wearing
this?
your
Do you know
seatbelt.
anything about the history of it?
I mean, a little bit.
All right,
I mean, there's not really much history.
please stop me if you think like either something's wrong or you
Most
feel
of the
like...
history of Cold Springs involves me.
Okay, all right, here we go. Coral Springs is a planned community. That means,
Yeah.
built by a real estate company. Built upon marshy lands that were previously bought up by early 20th century green bean mogul Henry Lyons. Do you know about him?
No.
Well, the whole...
Of course I don't.
All right, well, you're going to find out. Between 1911 and 1939, Henry Bud Lyons bought up most of the marshy lands that would later become Coral Springs and created the largest green bean farm in the country had ever
Holy
seen.
Shit.
The largest green bean.
Oh my god.
And he shipped the legumes to the north and to the west.
That's insane. I'm so glad that I'm not getting paid for this. This is definitely...
Well, you know what? When I first read that, I was wondering why only to the north and to the west.
For green beans?
Yeah, but then I realized the south and east is just water for him, right? There's nothing to the south and east to...
Of Florida?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's almost an island.
Yeah, exactly.
If you think about it.
I don't know. I thought
I
maybe...
explained this the other night to someone. I go, people were like, how is that? So someone was saying, like, how's North Carolina or something like, how's that considered the South? I go, pretend Florida's not there. That's the South, all those states. If Florida's not a part of America, those states are the South. Florida's not considered the South. Really, the north of it is, but South Florida's, it's considered like island.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Everything below Tampa is not
South
the
is
South.
like islandy, and then like the South, Tallahassee, of course, is the South.
It's the North, like, beach house, basically, at that point.
So, but like all those states, like even Tennessee is considered the South.
Yeah, totally. Of course it is. Henry Bud Lyons. All right, guys. This he was famous. You know what his nickname was in the industry, in the agriculture industry. This is how big.
Bean Henry,
the Titan of the Bean Patch,
which is the name of your favorite football team, Titan.
Yeah, exactly. He was the first Titan. This is a man who did great things in his life, Henry Lyons. Right? Like, I mean,
take notes, guys, because you will be tested on this.
Exactly. If you don't get the title of Titan of the Bean Patch, but.
Yeah, this guy was slaying pussy, by the way.
Absolutely.
Just fucking crushing it.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, because then when he died in 1952, his wife immediately ceased bean production. Can you believe that?
She hated it.
Dude, she didn't want it. She was tired of bean. How many nights a week did she have to cook green bean casserole and
also,
shit, right?
Yeah, he probably loved the green beans more than he loved her. And
Way more.
It got her jealous. He was like, one time she walked in on him jerking off over his green beans.
Exactly. She's bitching about making beans. It's like, those beans put this out, you know.
You know, his wife was the first person to actually use vinegar on green beans, and that's where that came from.
Absolutely, yeah. And it was just her tears.
That's
basically.
a fact.
Yeah. She immediately ceased bean production and converted the whole place to cattle grazing. All right.
Well, and that is a good thing.
Is it? I think she's an awful person. I mean, that guy worked his whole life to become that, you know?
Well, we don't know what he was doing on the side. That's the
true.
thing. The green bean thing was just a cover for what he was really doing, and he was shipping marijuana and cocaine and Cuban cigars into Florida. So people don't know about that side. I know because I'm from Cold Springs.
Henry Lyons, yeah, absolutely. That's the legend of the lion. All right, so she sells all of it, or no, she just transformed it into a cow patch basically, and then the post World War II real estate boom comes. This is whenever the whole country, and this is going to come up in a lot of episodes with a lot of towns.
Really?
Because
there's a theme to your podcast. Post World War II. Real estate boom.
Yeah, cool. Exactly. The real estate boom. I mean, come on. Like, this is whenever people wanted to, create their own little Jetsons in neighborhoods where everything's perfect.
Oh yeah, Cold Springs was definitely made for it's not what. If the people who made Cold Springs saw it today, they would be disappointed.
Oh, really? Yeah, well, the people who made it had a very specific thing in mind, and particularly...
It was middle-class white people.
Exactly. James S. Hunt of Coral Ridge Properties. This is a guy who had a vision, much like Henry Bud Lyons. It was like immediately, something about this place has an entrepreneurial spirit here. He comes in. When he found Lyons' property, he persuaded Mrs. Lyons... sex with her, obviously, widow, to sell it to him for $1 million.
Which back then is like $30 million today.
True, but Mr. Lyons was rolling in his grave, right? In his mind, that was going to be the next Campbell Soup dynasty, It
probably would have been.
And this
guy just turned it into an awesome time for kids in the 80s and early 90s.
His singular vision was to transform cow pastures into the best places to live in America. Do you know what some of the other names of Coral Springs were originally? Before they decided on Coral Springs?
Swampland.
Pompano Springs? Does that make any sense to you?
There's a Pompano.
Oh, that's what it is.
Pompano.
I can't read.
Because there's actually Pompano.
I don't know what that is.
Pompano is a city in Broward County.
Oh, and this was the
Pompano Beach, and then there's Pompano, and Cold Springs. That's considered Pompano. Yeah.
Quartermore. That was another one. Does that make sense?
Never heard of that one.
Hunt had a vision of an ideal city free of neon signs, billboards, obnoxious house colors, and clotheslines. He hated clotheslines, apparently. Yeah. He wanted to present a gracious landscape. Beginning with a covered bridge and a colonial-style brick buildings. He had a vision. He wanted everything I mean, this is back in the Jetson days, right? This is when people thought like
the Jetson days.
Yeah, when the Jetsons was on TV, people wanted futuristic neighborhoods where you didn't have to leave. Because before this, you either lived in the city, hustle and bustle, or you lived out on a cow pasture, right?
Yeah.
In 1965, Hunt put on a land rush sale. This is where you tell people to come out, buy the land cheap now before we start building it up. What celebrity do you think this guy got to come and help sell? This is 1965.
It was Elvis Presley.
It was not. I would venture to say almost just as big, though.
It was the other guy.
Johnny Carson.
Johnny Carson.
You got Johnny Carson to come out and help him. This is the spirit, the entrepreneurial spirit.
It's weird because comedy, and then so there's the spirit of comedy in the same city.
Which built you.
Yeah.
I mean,
coincidence? I think not.
I don't think so. 10,000 people showed up for the sale, consuming 3 tons of barbecue. It was a huge success. He sold $5 million worth of stuff.
$5 million.
Which in today's world is what, like $100 million.
Well, it would be like $15 million.
This guy, I mean, I'm starting to think this Hunt guy, I mean, this is Bud Lyons just reincarnated. Like this is typical Titan of the Bean Patch.
Yeah. So then what happened next?
What happens next is old Big Dick Jimmy Hunt. He knew how to sell some shit, and later, in fact, sold his whole company, Coral Spring Properties, to Westinghouse Electric for $40 million.
$40 million. That's what I was gonna say.
Exactly.
You didn't let me say
I didn't let you.
I knew that, but you knew I knew the facts because I'm pretty knowledgeable about Coral Springs.
That Westinghouse, as you may know, this is an electric company, big time. They came and bought it up because they wanted to use this neighborhood as a laboratory, basically, to like really make some shit. And the CEO of Westinghouse, his name, Joseph Philip what high school did you go to?
Joseph Taravella.
Taravella. There you go. This is the guy. You should know this. Your high school was named after
it. Which is the last year of the high school. They're closing it this year.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
We'll get there. Joseph Philip.
You knew that?
I didn't know that. Oh. He bought it. So he could use it as an urban laboratory to test new products. It built 3 Electrolab houses with such innovations as central air, intercom, central vacuum, home sewage disposal systems, sensor lights, and an electric car. Electric car in the 60s, man.
Talk about this. This is one of the more exciting episodes.
It really is. It really is. We're gonna get to you. This is all about your town, though, right now.
No. I don't care to get to me. I'm more into the town.
Okay. Well, you should learn about it. You should know about it.
Once we get to 84, I can catch you up with that.
Okay. We're getting there. They wanted to make the Jetsons for real. The city's historically low crime rate was marred in the early 90s, though. So this city had an amazing... Exactly. This place was famous for how safe it was because they built it for that. And then for some reason in the early 90s, teen gang violence made headlines. And then it subsided in 1995. So what happened? In the early 90s, from like 1990 to 95... The place just turned to shit because of teen gang violence.
It definitely wasn't shit. I definitely think
not
it got
shit,
worse.
But just
I think it actually got worse. Like today, it's the worst.
It's bad now. Actually, it's funny. Not bad, but it just hasn't.
But it's not like what it was.
Every 20 years, it just has a
dip.
Definitely,
I remember, there was definitely more like. It wasn't like gangs like you would have in like big cities like LA or New York.
Yeah.
It was more like just like punks maybe breaking cars and like coming up. Rival high school parties and starting fights, but like no one ever died or got shot. No, there was no violence like of guns. It was just guns. It would just be like.
You're 30 now, right?
33. So it'd be like normal high school fights, but like by the time I was in college, I was hearing that Taravella was getting a little like.
Getting a little flipper again.
Thuggy, yeah.
Yeah.
And it wasn't one of the top rated high schools
Anymore.
But it was in the 90s.
Yeah.
All the schools in Coral Springs were one of the highest rated schools in the 90s, And then probably by the late 2000s today, they're not anymore.
Taravella was ranked within the top 1% of all public high schools in the United States. It was also a recipient of the Blue Ribbon School of Excellence, awarded in 1987, and had an FCAT score of A all the way up until the 2015 year, where it got downgraded to C.
Yep.
Lenoci knows his shit.
See?
All right? He knows
it was a good town, but I know I want to tell you
you
why.
left.
I want to tell you why it got, but it's going to sound super racist.
No, you can tell me that. That's fine.
It is because a lot of South Florida. If you go back to the history of South Florida, a lot of the violence in Miami in the 60s was Cubans, drugs, and all that. And it took 30 years for, like, more islanders and stuff like, basically immigrants coming up north. And it pushed people more North Florida. Like, a lot of, like, white people were like, we're going to Palm Beach. Now, if you go to Palm Beach, it's quieter. It's what Broward County was.
Sorry, I'm just going to title this episode, Michael Lenoci
Is Racist.
Dirty Islanders. Okay.
No, I mean, there's a lot of illegals, but they're not bad people, but there's a lot of, like, they can't get jobs, so they make their...
Exactly. It causes disruption.
I mean,
That's
in the
what you're
60s,
saying.
there was a huge cocaine. It was huge.
Yeah, in the 80s it had a
80s, I mean, it still is today. There's
Cocaine,
so many drugs. I mean, when ecstasy became so popular, it was coming in through the ports of Miami. So it's like, there's always going to be drug problems in South Florida. It's just it was staying in Miami and south of Miami. And then over the years, it's going to climb its way up more north.
Yeah, that's.
To the
I mean,
city.
that's. Don't they say fashion comes from New York? It comes like this. Pop culture comes from like L.A. and then party trends come from Miami, and that's it all. It all meets in Tennessee last. We get everything last. All right, yeah. So that's pretty much the history there. All right.
Yeah.
You want to know about some notable people before we get to the most notable person sitting across?
The most notable thing I remember when younger, I know notable people I know was the band Newfound Glory.
Newfound Glory.
They were actually kind of already big when we were in high school. So back in 1999, they were already doing pretty well. Dan Morgan played for the Carolina Panthers, and he went to University of Miami. He's probably the most famous football player that went to our high school.
Taravella?
Yeah, he went to Taravella. So
if you're listening to this wondering, who's Newfound Glory again? Just think of every teen movie you saw. Their songs
they did well. And they
did really well, but
they definitely got some money in the bank.
Oh, dude,
and they probably still work today.
I always say they weren't a one-hit wonder. They had quite a few hits that were all in those movies. But I always say being a one-hit wonder, if I was a musician, that would be what I would want to do.
Yeah, I mean, even if they might not be able to sell out like a stadium, but they could probably do theaters still.
Absolutely, and constantly.
Probably make a good buck, but biggest football player from Coral Springs, there's probably a lot, but from what I remember was Dan Morgan. He played in the NFL, and he went to my high school. No other professional athletes to this point that I know came out of my high school. But out of Coral Springs, there's definitely a few, because some people would go to... So there was Douglas, and there was Coral Springs High. There was 3 high schools there, but then there was a private school, St. Thomas, that was like in Fort Lauderdale, but a lot of Coral Springs people live there. St. Thomas is has probably produced some of the most the most NFL players out of any high school in America, actually.
Yeah, well, people sleep on Florida when it comes to football. I don't know why. It doesn't make any sense.
California, Florida, Texas.
California, yeah, but I would say Florida is. People always say Texas. That's a football state. Florida just as much, if not more.
Yeah,
it's pretty nuts.
Well, they're good. I mean, the recruitment. Miami. They try to get all of the best guys.
Absolutely.
One time they got like 14 guys from one high school.
It was hard. I didn't want to pad the stats with Coral Springs too much because it was hard. Most of the football players I found were actually they would just list Fort Lauderdale. So it's hard. It's hard to.
Well, that's probably because they went to St. Thomas.
Exactly.
Which is in Fort Lauderdale.
What if I told you probably the most notorious terrorist of all time?
Yeah, I remember this.
Oh, you do? Okay,
well, yeah, because I was in high school when 9/11 happened.
Exactly.
He rented out an apartment at one point.
How close was it? Okay, so let me tell the story for everyone
Walking
listening.
distance.
Muhammad. Oh, really? Okay, awesome. Muhammad Atta, the guy who basically orchestrated the entire attack on 9/11. I mean, he was the guy. He was like,
There's so many people.
obviously, he
involved.
was like the captain here.
I never know. They said he was the one who flew one of the planes.
Exactly. Well, he was definitely on.
But how they? I always
plane.
was like, how do they know who was
Yeah,
actually flying the plane?
I guess
they don't know who.
they assume just based on
They just know what 5 guys were on each flight.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
So he was on one of the World Trade Center flights, and basically he rented an apartment at on Atlantic Boulevard. Yeah.
Atlantic Boulevard, close to where I lived, and probably less than a half a mile from our high school.
Yeah, and this is like where he like would. This is like the place that he would bring people in, let them stay there for a little bit, and then they'd go like learn how to fly a plane. Pretty nearby, actually.
Yeah.
And you said that it was walking distance for you could have stopped 9/11 from happening. If
Maybe.
Just,
I've actually been in that apartment complex before.
Really?
Yeah.
So if you would have just been as like,
which was,
if you would have been a little racist, like people are, you could have been like, hey, that guy's a terrorist, like that could have been the one time like that being like prejudiced would have saved.
Because of how I didn't know what racism was until I actually got older and moved to LA. But like you didn't, there wasn't. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah.
I would have never thought anything of brown people.
Yeah.
I didn't even.
Oh, I always say
racism was more towards like it would be black people or Spanish people, but like never thought anything of.
Up until 9/11, Arabs were white.
Yeah.
That was just when we lost our whiteness. We were totally white. We were like Italians, off-brand Italians.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
But in South Florida, there's no because there's
everyone. Everyone's.
Although in elementary school, looking back now, I remember there was only like maybe 1 or 2 black kids in my class.
Except for those dirty Islanders that you went out of there.
But then when high school, it started getting less white, and we were like, we got to get out of here.
Is that what you said? Yeah. Do you know this name? I couldn't find an age on her because she's a model. But Yale Markovich, do you know who that is? She went to JP Taravella High.
How old is she?
I couldn't find an age, but she won the 2012 Miss Israel competition. 2012, she's probably like 23, right? In 2012?
No, 18.
Oh, really?
I think you're young.
You're that young?
For those 18, 19.
Mm.
So she's just not in my...
Okay, she's not in your thing. That's
what
I was wondering.
You're not 30 when you're winning these things.
Yeah, I know.
That was 5 years ago, so...
Okay. Well, she won Miss Israel. She went to your high school.
Well, she went there a little too late. She should have been there when I was there.
Yeah. Well, I think she's here now. She owned a beauty spa in Beverly Hills until she sold it last year for a lot. And made a big killing.
I think what's her name's from Coral Springs. The singer.
What's her name?
One of the most famous singers right now.
Rihanna?
No.
Beyonce.
A white girl. A young one. Not Selena Gomez, but the other one.
I think I know who you're talking about. It's sad that I know who you're talking about. She
dated the one rapper.
I am not going to know about dating.
Looks real young.
Yeah, exactly. I know who you're talking about. The one who looks like a kid.
I think she's from Coral Springs.
Oh, yeah?
I
don't think so. I did a lot of research on this.
Google where she's from.
I'm going to Google it right now.
Let's find out what's her name.
Try to figure out what her name is.
Not Selena Gomez. I think she was live.
Yeah, God,
she's Selena Gomez, but the other one.
She's the Ariana Grande. Ariana.
See where she's from. See what pops up.
All right.
Hometown.
This is riveting. Boca Raton.
City right up, next city over, pretty much.
But is it
2 cities over? Yeah.
2 cities.
It goes.
Don't try to pet.
Coral Springs, Parkland, Boca.
Here's something I want to try to tell all my guests that come on here. It's not a competition. You don't have to pad your stats.
I'm not. I'm just saying that's all. It's all relatively the same. Oh, how about this? Boca to Coral Springs is like going from, here to Santa Monica, but actually wouldn't take as long.
Okay.
How about that?
All right, that's fine. She's still. I'll bring her up whenever I bring someone up from Boca Raton.
But you won't because there's no comics from Boca unless you have Eric Andre on here.
Eric Andre, maybe one day we'll see. All right, so that's the history and notable.
That's the podcast, guys. But you probably didn't even make it today because you fell asleep because you were learning about Coral Springs. You're like, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, they care. They care because whenever I post this, it's gonna be posted. That's for you, by the way. That's water for you. Yeah, it's water.
Wow.
I know. This is church.
What's your ethnicity again? You can't doing this stuff.
What?
That's putting water in like different types of bottles.
Yeah, it's a
It's such
canteen.
like a club thing, you know?
It's not a club thing.
Or restaurants do this.
Yeah, restaurants do
LA
that.
restaurants.
Yeah. Michael's upset because I gave him water not already in a cup.
No, it's just like, I'm not upset, it's just cute, I guess.
It's adorable.
Life from New York, that's the second book I'm looking at.
Michael Lenoci, you're from Coral Springs.
Yeah.
And so now this is the part where I'm learning with this podcast. Like it's evolving into different things.
What episode is this?
This is episode 4.
Oh, episode 4.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
by episode 35, this will be a totally different podcast.
Exactly.
This is how. That's what happens.
So we're going to talk about you growing up. So you lived in South Florida your whole life, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Until until I went to college.
Where'd you go to college?
FSU, and that's in Tallahassee.
All right, we'll get there. So you grew up. You're born and raised in South Florida.
Holy Cross Hospital in Fort Lauderdale.
That's where we're starting at the birth.
Holy Cross Hospital in Fort Lauderdale, right off of. Pretty sure that's
How was it? How'd you like growing up there?
I liked coming out. I was like, I'm alive when I was born.
Yeah.
I liked that part. I remember seeing my dad. He looked like, oh my god, I have a boy.
Earlier we were talking about Coral Springs, how it was made to be like this perfect little suburb.
It was.
Was it great?
There was 15 kids in my neighborhood, and we were just running around the streets playing sports and riding bikes around.
That's awesome. I always wanted that. See,
Yeah.
I lived in the middle of nowhere. I lived in the woods. No one was near me. And so I had to play with like sheep and chickens. So you had that you had that classic like Goonies.
It was the Sandlot.
That's awesome, man.
The Sandlot was my life.
And some people I've heard people be like, ugh, like my wife was kind of like that. She hated it. You liked it?
Of course, because we were always playing pickup football game. We were always playing sports in the streets, hide and go seek, manhunt, tying rope across streets and making cars run into it. But once we got in our teens, we started being fooling around, throwing water balloons at cars.
Mm-hmm.
We were always having fun.
And it was the same guys the whole time?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really. I still keep in touch with them through Facebook or maybe 2 texts a year.
Mm-hmm.
They're not like my best friends like I have from high school and college, but I know all of them.
Yeah.
And they still when I go back to Florida and if I have a show, they've come out and stuff.
Hell yeah.
They're all married with kids and stuff, so it's like bye.
Do you think you would? Oh, they're all married with kids. Do they still live there?
No, they're all spread out. I mean, most of them are still in South Florida. Yeah.
Do they?
Not in Cold Springs. One's in Cold Springs. Yeah.
Do you think a lot of them probably wanted to keep the
No,
If you had a kid, would you want to have raise them here, or would you want to raise them somewhere like that?
Well, I'm not leaving here.
So
he would have to.
You would have to, yeah.
Regardless of whether it's fun for him or if it's a good school.
So you're selfish?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit.
Yeah, I'm the same
also,
way.
I'm not probably gonna have a kid.
Yeah, I mean, I have a kid here. That's another reason I wanted to start this podcast, because I feel like everyone, like you said, at
People
first...
go where the schools are. That's what you do once you're a parent. Once they're 5 or 6, you want to go where the good schools are, if you can afford to.
See, but some people don't think like that. That's how people, when you're in a city like this, do. Some people think, I need to go to a whole town for my kid. You know what I mean?
Oh, really?
Like a place like Coral Springs.
But usually, if you go to a good school, if the schools are rated good,
mm-hmm.
that's going to be a good one of those kind of towns.
Anyone can grow up anywhere, and it's totally fine. That's my philosophy.
That's true.
And that's why I kind of got into thinking about where people grow up. It's what makes them. I grew up in the middle of nowhere. My wife grew up in a place like you. My kid she started kindergarten right here.
Yeah, I can't imagine what that's like. It's
right?
Isn't
that crazy? But I mean, she's a normal kid,
It's just different. It was just everyone had a backyard, everyone had a swimming pool.
Mm-hmm. My kid's backyard is the Whiskey A Go-Go on the Sunset Strip.
You just might not I didn't see a homeless guy. You know what I mean? If you grow up here, you're gonna see that.
Yeah,
not
exactly.
Bad, but you didn't see bad things. The worst things that would happen is oh, did you hear about the car accident up the street?
Mm-hmm.
Like that. You know what I mean? There was never it was news when there was oh, one time there was a story about a shooting.
Yeah.
There's gonna be shooting everywhere. Oh my God, someone shot someone, and that was in the late '90s, and it made it was the first shooting in Coral Springs history.
I tried to find some crazy story. There's definitely no Florida man stories coming out of Coral Springs. It's a very
No, there was definitely. I'm trying to think. I remember there was a big breaking in our neighborhood,
mm-hmm.
and the guy was in the house hiding, and he jumped out the window when he came home, and that was crazy.
That was it.
Yeah,
So this
and
is
the
it.
cops, you know.
This is you're a kid. You're growing up in this perfect kid place. You
Yeah.
know, you basically get to live out the Goonies and Sandlot and all that.
Oh yeah.
You get to high school. How's that? What's going on in high school?
High school was a good, fun high school. We
Yeah.
had like our soccer program was good because of soccer players are better in South Florida.
Yeah.
We weren't good at football.
You played football?
No,
Oh, what'd you play?
I didn't play any sports.
You didn't do any
I didn't
sports.
have the
What were you doing?
grades.
What were you doing?
Smoking pot and being class clown.
I wouldn't have guessed that. I would have guessed you were like the jock kid.
I was. I just didn't like. Well,
Well, it doesn't sound like you were the jock if you didn't
Well,
play
I wasn't
sports.
the jock, but like you didn't have to. It wasn't like a high school in the '60s and '70s and '80s where it's like, yeah, like you could be a good athlete
Yeah.
and not play for high school
Okay.
teams. Like you just there was so many pickup games and there was rec leagues, nonstop rec leagues. So I played soccer and baseball growing up my whole life, and then by the time I got high school, that's when you fade out if you're not good enough to be like
Yeah, that's true.
go to a collegiate level eventually.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just like I also was a bad student in 9th grade and 10th grade
Mm-hmm.
and didn't like get back on track till like junior senior year.
Well, what was
So-
going on? What was going on?
I
with
think I was just like a late bloomer, and then I got bad at sports, so maybe I just started like I watched Half Baked, started smoking pot, didn't care about school as much, just wanted to have fun. I wasn't like a bad kid.
You sound like a bad kid.
No, it depends what a bad kid to you. Like I wasn't a bad kid. Like I was breaking the law, like being a degenerate, going around town breaking into cars and shit. I was just like I would go to school and I would do whatever I had to do to get by. But like I wanted to like fool around and just always hang out with friends and play video games, and then like I would go outside and throughout the neighborhood and play pick up football games and stuff.
Yeah.
But like I eventually didn't care to like go to practices and stuff. I was like, this is boring. That got boring, and then school was just so boring for me.
So you didn't like high school?
I liked going to school. I didn't like doing the work in school.
Uh-huh.
I liked being at school. I had fun at school.
What was
I hated waking up early. You know?
What was tell me what's some of the crazy shit that happened in high school? Any one particular story you can remember in high school? It sounds like this high school was like. It sounds like the whole you had this like perfect like place, and then like in high school, it seems like this high school seems like it has some dirty closets, right? There's something happened in this high school for
One
sure.
time, there was like a kid senior year. There was a couple kids that there was like these kids. There was like these two guys going around like Broward County robbing 7-Elevens,
Mm-hmm.
and they ended up being at our school.
Rich kids?
No,
Oh, really?
no, they were.
That sounds
They
like
were they were the ones in the apartment building where
Oh,
they
yeah?
lived in like that apartment.
They
building.
lived with Muhammad Atta.
Yeah, so they lived in those, but like I remember they like went to like some jail for like a couple months.
Were there a
And then
lot
they
of
were
rich
back.
kids at your school? It seemed like it's
There's rich kids, but it was mostly middle class.
Mostly middle class.
Middle upper class, but there was like Eagle Trace, which was one of the nicer neighborhoods, and they had a golf course that
Mhm.
was in the PGA Tour.
Oh yeah, I saw about that.
Yeah, the Honda Classic was at Eagle Trace in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
So we had that. And
It
then,
sounds like a white paradise.
yeah, it definitely was.
Yeah?
It definitely was made for a white paradise, and then eventually like
And it was
people's
dirty.
income got better, and like, but there was also it wasn't necessarily it changed. Maybe that's what the idea was. But then in the 90s they started building apartment complexes,
Mm-hmm.
and then
For
so
the
for lower income
Yeah.
people could live in this nice neighborhood, and I think that was what they were trying to like.
Sounds
Yeah,
like,
like-
once they realized they weren't getting robots.
Yeah, so once they built the apartments, that's when minorities came in.
Yeah.
So which they wanted because they wanted to be able to give them the equal opportunity for good schools.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what they were doing. So that was actually a good thing. So they're like, hey, maybe they can't afford a house, but if we build these apartments, they can get into the schools.
Hey, we're not attacking Coral Springs here.
Okay. Well, I'm
You
just
don't have
saying. High school wasn't crazy. I mean, it was just local high school parties. Nothing ever bad happened.
Mhm.
A kid died. I remember one kid died.
How did he die? What happened?
He had a bad heart, but he was skipping school and they were partying, and he like collapsed, and they put him in the car and drove him to the hospital. And by the time he was there, he was dead. I grew up with him.
Oh yeah. Was
Yeah.
he one of the Sandlot kids? Or
Yeah, he grew up in my neighborhood. Pretty
Oh,
much.
dang.
Yeah, but that's like the craziest, like a kid dying. You know what I mean? Like that
Mhm.
was crazy. I mean, high school was pretty normal for me. I mean, like you start drinking at like 17, right? And
Yeah.
you go to parties. I liked partying. That was fun. But
Were
like
you the guy
partying
throwing
was
the
like
parties?
no, I hated it.
What are parties in a place like this? Because where I grew
Drinking,
up, yeah,
and
well, I
drinking
know
and
that.
smoking pot, and that's it.
I
No
get.
drugs.
I know what a party is, Michael.
Well,
I'm saying,
no.
where are you guys partying?
Whoever's parents are out of town.
Out of town.
Like
So it was a
senior-
classic movie party, right?
But senior year, there was one house where we'd always go to, my buddy Jason's house. And by senior year, everyone's friends with everyone, and his parents were cool, and we would go there and we'd drink Miller High Lifes.
They were the parents that let you drink,
and we would always say every Friday and Saturday.
How
We'd
is
just kick
that?
it at
There's
their place.
always just one parent
who's
that
cool
do
with it.
that. Isn't that
Yeah.
funny?
Yeah.
It's never like, oh, all of our parents are like that. No, it's like
I don't understand how they're cool with it. Because
Yeah,
I would freak out. I'd be like, what if something happens to someone?
Yeah,
that's what all the parents are.
it's
Like, my parents didn't become cool with it till like late senior year. They're like, yeah, if it's like 4 of you, who cares?
yeah, no,
But
I
not to
still
have 25 kids drinking there.
totally, and it's not even like that. I wouldn't be that parent, not because I'm like, oh, I'm not cool with you drinking. Like, it's not that. It's like I don't want that fucking liability at my house.
That's
that
exactly
kid
what it is.
hops in a car and I'm going to jail.
Yeah,
you
that's
kids are going to be
that's
totally
why.
fine. I'm not going to be this. No.
That's exactly why. Even now that I'm older, I'm like, who's doing that?
Yeah,
That's
it's
crazy.
irresponsible as hell on yourself, not the
Yeah.
kids.
Well, his parents were not American, so maybe that's why.
Wow.
They were like-
Lenoci, just
They were from
Michael
what island?
Lenoci,
Yeah,
true American,
they were from
Cuba,
one of those weird.
Dominican,
No, it's not like a small one.
Guam,
No, it's like it's like a French.
Haiti.
No,
I don't know.
it doesn't.
Oh,
matter.
I know.
It's
you're
white.
Oh, it's white.
They're white.
Oh,
They were white, but like they're kind of more laid back. They're like they had that mentality. Yeah, you can drink.
yeah.
you
They
know
just
what I mean?
don't know the American laws and how
Yeah, I mean,
fuck 'em
so they
over.
were cool. Usually it was more people like that. Yeah, it was like, I mean, my mom was British, so she was like more strict.
with an accent.
Yeah, no, she's British without one.
All right, that was a dumb question, but I mean, you could have been from England and moved here when you were a kid.
She was born in England, moved here, and then she was like, I'm American,
Your dad's Italian, your mom's British,
but
but
I'm first generation.
you're first generation what?
My mom's British, my dad's Italian. I'm first generation.
Oh, your dad moved here from Italy?
My
Oh.
mom moved here from England.
You're lying to me,
No,
really?
I'm not. Why would I lie?
I don't know.
It's a podcast. You have to be honest.
All
That's
right.
why your hand goes on this. You go, do you swear to tell the truth?
Well, you just don't have the accent of someone whose parents have accents.
What do you mean?
I don't know.
Huh? Hey, it goes in and out. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It just goes back and forth. So
It
it's
just
like,
happens.
What's going on? Hey, how you doing?
That's not an Italian accent.
No shit. I can't do either because my brain was just like, what's going on? I couldn't understand anything.
All right, so you got your act together in high school, right?
No, probably.
Well, you
I
had to
never
get
have.
it
Still to
somewhat.
this day, haven't got my act together.
You got your act together enough to where you graduated and you went to college, right?
Oh yeah, I did. I graduated with like a 2.4 in high school.
That's all you need.
But I had below a 2.0 for the first 3 years of high school, and that's why I didn't play sports. I
Mhm.
couldn't play. You had to have a 2 or higher because by 8th grade was a late bloomer. I don't know if that's why.
Mhm.
No, I think I just wanted to have fun. I liked being around people.
You just didn't like work in school,
Yeah,
right?
so, like,
I was the same way.
And smoking pot, it was part of half baked. I just liked laughing.
Hmm.
And we would get high and laugh, and it was just fun. So I didn't care about school, so I got bad grades. But I wasn't like a bad student.
You weren't dumb.
And I wasn't a bad student. Like I wasn't like in class like going fuck this teacher.
Hmm.
I was just kind of like sometimes just chill. And,
I was the same way.
and laugh and make jokes.
I couldn't make myself work hard on work that you weren't getting paid to do. That was my
Yeah.
thing. Like it was like,
especially if I wasn't into it.
and if you're not into it, you're not gonna be like. If I don't give a shit about what we're reading about, I'm not gonna be able to keep the information.
You know what I used to do a lot in class in high school is I used to just like, because I was such a big baseball fan and 90s baseball was the best, I used to write down like the whole lineup for the Marlins and then just like write down what I think their stats are going to be for the year. And then I would just like write it down.
Oddly, the nerdiest shit anyone's ever done, failing a
and
class.
then I would do that for like the football team. I'd be like, what's his name's going to throw
That seems like a
42
lot of
touchdowns.
work to
I would
not
write
do
down
work.
the players, yeah, because instead of like doing the work in class, I would like just doodle and daydream like, all right, what's his name's gonna have 45 home runs and 130 RBIs, and then what's his name's going to be batting 5th and have 23 homers, and then we're going to go 100 wins, and then this is my prediction of who's going to be in the playoffs. And I used to just do that, and then just do that over and over, the same all the time.
It's terrible.
It was fun for me though.
Have fun doing it. Do what you want. Do what you love. All right, so you make it through high school somehow.
Yeah, it wasn't tough. I mean, a couple fights here and there, got beat up.
Oh yeah, you got in fights in high school?
Yeah, in the high school I got in a
over
fight
what?
one time.
What happened?
Just like I was like a class combat kid got annoyed, and I was like, "Screw you, bro!" And I had a temper, and then we got in a fight, and I got suspended for like 3 days.
It was your fault.
I mean,
You
both.
take the blame for it?
Well, no, I mean, yeah, I could have walked away.
Yeah. What'd you make fun of him for? What'd you do?
No, he like came up to me and I was like, "Shut up, bitch," or something like that. It was just like dumb shit, And he punched me in the face.
I feel like you're leaving something out here.
No, like I was just in class being like fooling around, and he said something to me. I don't remember what, and I was like, "No, fuck you." It was just like one of those. It was like, fuck you.
Just testosterone.
And then like when we left class, we were walking down the hall, and like he didn't say anything, but then he was stopped in the hall and I walked by, and I was like, "Yeah, bro, don't ever fucking talk to me like that again. I'll fuck you up." And then he punched me in the face, and we started like.
Was he bigger than you?
No.
Did you win the fight?
No, he won. He threw the first punch. Whoever throws the first punch wins.
That's not true.
When you don't fight and you're just like a kid.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you're not a professional fighter, you throw the first punch, you win.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe not like in real fighters, but like I got punched, I went to the ground.
Oh, it was a one-punch knockout.
No, it was like one punch and I was shocked. I was like, "Oh my god, we're fighting in school." Like I was all talk. I was like, my mom's gonna be so mad. That's what I'm thinking about.
Yeah, you're right.
And of course she was. I was more worried about like the consequences of
fighting in school. That's hardcore.
Yeah.
That's like, you don't fuck around with that. You get expelled and shit.
Which at the time, you're like, well, suspended. You're not gonna get expelled unless you like do something crazy.
Did you? So you're. South Florida. You're not really in the South. What are the other kids in school like in this high school? Like, is it?
You get there was a lot of Jewish people.
Oh yeah.
In Cold Springs.
Mm-hmm. How'd you feel about that?
They were my best friends.
Oh yeah.
You didn't care, and then like, yeah, it's just like I don't know.
It is Florida. Are there Southern kids there at all?
No, it's not
None?
Southern. It was just more like
no culture.
Probably more of a New York vibe there, because that's what it was. Because a lot of them were
all
like
the
Jewish people. All the Jewish people, they came. Their grandparents or someone was from the Northeast, and then like there's Italians down there, and then. Yeah, everyone was just there was a lot of white people, but it was just like they all came from somewhere else.
It had that suburb feel. It sounds like you're telling me about it, and it sounds like every teen movie.
No Southerners. It's no Texas, no Georgia. There's no like, hey, what's up? I'm gonna go ride the truck. Those kids were cut that. I heard the west coast of Florida was like that, like Fort Myers. If you grew up in the suburbs.
Oh, everything on the Gulf is like.
Yeah,
that.
I heard was like more southerny. You know what I mean? Like we're gonna go fishing. Like there wasn't like a crew of kids in our high school who's like, we're fishers. We're gonna go fishing.
I don't think anyone says they're fishers.
I don't know. I feel like they are. I feel like people are like, we're going to go fishing and hunting. Like, that's not a thing. You don't go hunting or fishing in Florida.
Next time someone asks you to do a British accent, just try to do your fisher's accent.
My fisher's accent.
Yeah, that sounds more British than
Does it sound more British if I'm fishing? No. And then, like there was just, like, it was, like, more, like, everyone was just like, yeah, Mom, give me money. We'll go shopping at the mall. There's malls. You go to malls. Fucking malls and rec leagues. You go to the park and play rec league, rec soccer. If you play rec soccer, you're like, what are you doing? Everyone played soccer. Everyone played soccer and baseball, even if you weren't good.
All right, you made it out. You get done with high school. Are you one of those kids you're like, I'm fucking out of here. I'm never coming back?
No, I thought I was going to grow up and like have a family and live in South Florida for the rest of my life.
Is that what you wanted to do?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah? What happened?
Well, I wanted to do stand-up when I was in middle school and high school when I learned what stand-up was.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I always wanted to be an actor first.
Yeah.
First and foremost, professional baseball player.
Mm-hmm.
Once you kind of you're in denial about it, but once you go, well, I guess that really is crazy that that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I did always want to be an actor, but then or like it was SNL. I was like, oh, I want to be on
SNL.
that.
That was
Because like my SNL for me, my influences were like more Will Ferrell. Because in middle school, he was like, that was when he was popping. It was more, SNL. And then like I remember watching stand up. I don't know who it was, but it was like on HBO or something. I remember seeing some old Carlin clips. I remember seeing Chris Rock. I remember seeing Ellen. But I didn't follow. I wasn't. It's crazy. Like until I started stand up, I didn't know that there was like a community of people who follow stand up.
Yeah,
comedy.
same. Yeah.
I didn't know that. I was just like, I thought everyone knew stand up how I did. Like, the three people.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Especially for like, because I feel like growing up when we grew up. I'm 30. You're 33. Yeah. When we were young, it was like, I was the same way. SNL was like top for me. I was like, all right, that's what comedy is. They taught me like what funny is. Simpsons taught me what funny is.
Same thing. Oh, so you grew up in the suburbs? It's SNL and Simpsons.
Yeah, and it's like and then, but stand up. My dad was obsessed with Carlin. He would make me watch Carlin. I didn't like Carlin even because he like made me watch it. I couldn't appreciate it yet. And prior, but to me, stand up was either old stuff like from the 70s. But all the new stuff was like either you had to be like a character, like Jeff Foxworthy, like you had to have some sort of character, or you were like the cool black guy, like Chris Rock, Bernie Mac. Those were the only stand-up that I liked. I didn't think normal people could be stand-up comedians at that time.
Yeah, I didn't really know. I don't remember. Like I said, the only earliest memories I have of stand-up was like, I guess I remember seeing Richard Pryor in movies. Didn't know he was a stand-up. Just going, this guy's kind of funny. He had like a funny personality. I remember seeing George Carlin a little bit, and I would watch it and just be like, I remember seeing his HBO specials, and not like, I couldn't even remember what bits I was seeing. I just knew that like this is the guy who has everything. And then like I remember Ellen. I remember some of her bits.
I fucking loved
Ellen. I don't know why.
Yeah,
she made me laugh a lot. And then I remember but my first time I have this memory, I was on couch and I was watching something. It could have been anyone. I don't know who was on it. It might have been one of those shows where it's just a random comics on it. And I was like, oh, how do they do that, Dad?
Yeah.
I was like, that's great. So he just goes out there and is just talking? And I just like, no, man. He's like, he writes it and it's a routine. And like, I didn't even understand that. And people still to this day don't know that.
Yeah.
So I guess my dad had the knowledge to know that like stand-up was an act.
Yeah.
It wasn't just made up. Because even now today, people are like, are you just like, you just make it up? Like they don't know it's an act. Like some people will go to a show. Some people sometimes will like, when I'm on the road with Chris, like they'll go, if you're a fan of a comic and you go to his show,
Chris D'Elia.
Yeah. So, but if you're a fan of any comic who's big, Sebastian, Bill Burr, Louis, if you go to their show, let's say you went to the show today, if you go back in 3 months and see them, you're gonna see the same thing. You're not supposed to go.
Yeah.
Only go see your favorite comic once every 2 years.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're gonna see the same stuff. A lot of people don't know that. They don't realize that. So they'll go to these shows sometimes twice in a year, and they'll be like, he did the same stuff. And like,
And really,
that's what an act is.
That 2 years has become more. I mean,
well, that's crazy that's even a thing.
People are pumping it out so much. It used to be.
I don't agree with
Seinfeld.
that. I wouldn't do that.
What you don't agree with?
I mean, I get that it would be hard if they're offering you $3 million or $1 million
for a
special,
then
you got to put it out. But I don't think like things are really special how they are now. It's more like,
it's not.
hey, just put out an hour and you're like, here's what I'm talking about now. So that's how it is now, and that's just changed the game. But
it's changed it completely. It's made people's specials not as good anymore.
But that's not what it is. It's almost like now Netflix is not. It's not about being special. It's just about. It's almost like that's the half hour presents now are Netflix hours. And so that being said, I remember my dad was like, that's when I go, I want to do stand up. But then like you live in South Florida, you're like, well, you're not going to be a stand up because you live in Florida. You're going to move to LA? What are you, crazy?
Yeah.
So that wasn't an option. So after high school, I went to college and was just like, let's be in a frat and party. That looks fun.
Yeah. You didn't do stand up in college?
No.
No. So all right, you make it to college. And. Well, how's that go?
Just wanted to have fun. It was
Same
such
thing.
a good time. Yeah, I was just like, this is fun. It was like being at camp and never going home. You're like, I'm with my friends all the time.
I was like that for the first 2 years, and then I wanted to leave because I knew I was moving out here after. So I wanted to get done with college.
I had no idea. For me, it was just like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I have no plan, but I know like I'll have to get a job and like start a family. Like
So you didn't know you wanted to do stand up yet at this point. You're in college.
I wanted to do stand-up.
You wanted to, but you didn't know how.
I wanted to do stand up and be an actor in middle school, and then in high school we had like looked at like what you would do after high school, and I was in drama throughout high school.
Yeah, same here. Yeah.
But like I didn't do drama. I like the teacher would like. She knew how I was, and I was like, "Yo, can we go play Whose Line Is It Anyways in the corner?" And me and these 3 kids would play Whose Line Is It Anyways.
Hell yeah!
And she would let us do that, and we would do the same things they did. We're like, "Let's do the party scene," and like you have to make shit up, and that was fun. And then I was just like, "Oh." But
So you didn't do forensics? Do you know what that is?
No.
The forensic. It was basically like improv, like competitions for like middle school and high school.
No, because our teacher was very theater.
Yeah.
Like, she was like, let's do, like, and then by the 3rd year, you had to do, like, one. I remember I played Jack in The Child of the Big Bad Wolves.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, yeah, but then I got a little more into stand-up in college, like, watching it, because I feel like there was a boom in
It was
college.
boom, yeah. That's when, like, Dane Cook and everything.
And then there was Aziz, and then Louis I didn't know about until
No,
I got
but Louis, like, yeah. Like,
I never, maybe for you that 3 years makes a difference.
Yeah.
I remember being at UCB 101 when I first moved out here in 2010, and someone mentioned Louis, and I go, "Who's that?" I said, I didn't even know who Louis was until 2011. I didn't know who any comics were.
Yeah, that boom,
Literally.
like, what, I remember...
But Dane Cook, and it was Dane Cook and Cat Williams.
Exactly.
Those
Those are the
two.
guys
We were
that, like, kind of
watching
blew
those
it
two.
up, and...
Like, they were great, and I looking back, both of their stand-ups from back then hold up. I mean,
Yeah,
they were
absolutely.
hilarious,
Dude.
dude. And then
People who talk shit on Dane Cook have no
Yeah.
idea what they're talking about. His old shit was like...
his old shit's great. No one will hate on that. I mean,
Yeah.
it influenced everyone doing comedy now.
And yeah, he boomed it.
What he's doing today is different. I don't know. I can't explain it, but
Mhm.
you know, he's older. But maybe he didn't. Whatever. That's everyone else's opinion. He still knows how to write a joke. It's just different.
Yeah.
But it was crazy. And then so we was watching that, and then I even went to a comedy show in Tallahassee. There was a comedy club there. I don't know who I was seeing.
Florida has a good scene. They've always had it. You know, a lot of guys come out of there.
Don't know who I saw, and I went to one in South Florida too before I moved out here. But I thought about it a little bit in college, and I was like, oh, and I would always like, I had a book where I'd like write some ideas. I'm like, that would be funny, because me and my friend loved it. We were all silly. And then after college, like I had a girlfriend senior year, we broke up, and then I was just like in the sales jobs, and I was like going to work.
What were you selling?
Pharmaceutical sales was the first one, then
That's
health
good
insurance. No, but I wasn't in it yet. It was just like an entry level shitty one, and then like health insurance. Then I worked for CBeyond, which is like.
And this is all after college? You're still...
I was getting fired from every job. But this is when I first realized I was working at the pharmaceutical sales job. It was an entry-level sales job, and I got my buddy the job there, and we were in cubicles and shit like that, and I used to stand up and be like, yo, and say, like, funny ideas, and my best friend, he was like, dude, that's funny, and then that's when he started planning to get, he's like, dude, I'm telling you, I think you should do it, and I was going through a breakup, and I wasn't happy, and I was like, I don't want to be in this, like, I hated the idea of getting up. I remember I would get up, I would wake up at 8:30, I'd go, and then get to work. We'd get off work, I would go to gym if I had energy, and by the time I was done with the gym and eat, it was like 8, 9, it was like, alright, you gotta go to bed and do it again, and I hated that.
Yeah.
That made me disgusted. I was like, wait, so you do this for the next 30 years? And I was like, I cannot do that.
And you had graduated college at this point, so
Yeah.
In your face, this is your life right now.
Yeah,
this is your life
This is
forever.
my first time seeing it. I go, well, this is what everyone's doing. I go, oh, this is what you do? And then you're like, and then you get married, and then I was like, no way. And then I just wasn't happy, and I just told my, I was like, I gotta do this.
Yeah.
Moved
to LA. Just on... Sorry, it was a Lamborghini going by. Just on, like, sheer, I gotta do this. I gotta get out of here.
Yeah.
So you move out here, and you decide you're never going back, or like at that point.
It wasn't like there was no. I never thought about the future. I just was taking it one day. I was like, this is what I'm gonna do. I was like, don't get me like I would never. I'm not gonna say I'd live here forever, because if like SNL was like, hey, come, then I'm gonna live in New York for the meantime.
I just mean your mindset at that time. You're done. You finished college. You know, you graduate. You got this job. You're like, I can't fucking do this.
Yeah,
you get broken up with. That's always a major part with it.
I couldn't be in the Matrix. That shit scared the shit out of me.
Were you still in Coral Springs, or were you in Tallahassee?
No, I was in Fort Lauderdale after college.
Oh, yeah?
So, which is like a little bigger city. Like, so I was hanging out more like in the city.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bigger city.
And you never decided to do comedy down there at all?
No, some people. I remember when I said I'm gonna move to LA to do stand up. A couple people were like, "Well, why don't you just start here?"
There, yeah.
And I go, "No." In my head, I was like, "If I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it where all the best people do it."
Are you happy that you made that decision?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. 100%.
I started out here because I was moving down here anyway.
Then people were like, "How did you do it?" I go,
It's
"What do you
hard.
mean?"
It's a lot harder to start out here, for sure.
Yeah, I think you learn better.
I think you learn
I think it gets
faster.
harder when you like get to 5-6 years in and you need more stage time. But then you got to work and you got to go to San Diego, you got to go OC. And it gets harder now.
There's pros and cons for sure. I think I would never tell anyone, "Hey, you're out here. Don't start out here. Get out here." But I would always tell someone like, "Hey, if you're somewhere, start there first and then come."
Yeah, I disagree.
Really?
Yeah.
I think.
Okay, so even if you do 2 years wherever you are, and how about this? Here's how I agree. If you're in Chicago, if you're in Seattle, if you're in San Francisco, if you're in San Diego, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
If you're in any other city, move to New York or LA.
Yeah.
But I'll give you the benefit of the doubt with San Francisco, San Diego, Seattle, because there's a kind of a scene there.
Yeah.
Where you can get heat and pick up and know people. But like if you're in like Charlotte or Atlanta.
Oh, Atlanta's a great scene.
Sure, but like who do you know?
Yeah.
All right, how about this? Perfect example. I have a good friend. His name's Chappelle Lacey. He's a comic in Arizona. All right, he's done it all over there. He's been there. I've known him for 3 years. All right, he's open for everyone.
Yeah.
Because he's there. I go, okay, now what, bro?
That's the trap of being.
I go, what are you doing? Cool, but like nobody knows you.
Exactly.
Nobody knows who you are. So move the fuck to LA.
Yeah.
And it's scary, and you're not gonna get stage time anymore, and you're gonna have to learn. But you don't need to do. You know what you need when you're in LA? A dope 5 minutes. If it's dope, people will notice you.
Yeah.
So you don't need to be doing 20 minutes when you're 3 years in or 4 years in. Just get out here and like. Also, part of the game is called show business. Is fucking meeting people and building relationships and learning from them. You also like every time I'm on the road and there's a local host. You know what I see? I see everyone's influenced through something. You could always tell when a young comic's how they're influenced. That means you're learning, so that's good. But I see fucking flat jokes, like jokes that like they don't know that like that's been done.
Yeah.
You don't realize like, you know, when you first start, you'll hear like there was a lot of jokes like, I still see it every time. Every month or 2 months, you'll hear a comic doing a joke about Spirit Airlines.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you don't, I had it. I fell for that trap. I did that. Like, you don't, it takes you got to do comedy for so long before you start seeing everything and go, no, that's been done. This has been done. And then what's original? So you're not original when you're just staying in.
I think you have a competitive mindset, and I'm the same way, and that's why I look at the pros of starting out here, because you're stuck around the best of the best out here,
and you're seeing what
it makes you better. Some people it doesn't make them better. Some people that just like
that's their work
shuts them down. Yeah, well, yeah, exactly.
If you are grinding out and like doing the like, here's what it's good for you in LA is LA makes you go like. It weeds out the people who aren't strong enough to do this. It's like you can come out here. How about this? If you start stand-up in whatever city, okay, and you're getting 20 minutes on one night, and you're willing to take 2 nights off because you did 20 minutes the other night, and then you can get a 30-minute set here and there, that's what you're used to. Then when you move here, you're not going to get those sets, but you're going to be like, oh, I got up today. Like, whereas for the first 4 years, I probably hit 15 mics a week easily. Like, I got up
fighting for 3 minutes.
Yeah, I got up 500 times a year for the first 4 years. I was grinding. I met everyone. It's where I met some of my peers, which peers help drive it. But like, you also want to have mentors too. Yeah. There's both. But it's just like you were grinding around, and it might have not been smart work. You know what I mean? Like now I work smarter. Like, but I was addicted to like getting up. So even if I wasn't even if I was saying the same joke 4 times in one night and not changing it around, it just got me comfortable on stage with that, and it made you like go, oh, you have to grind a little bit. So there's that. You know what I mean? That
is another pro of starting out here.
Yeah.
You don't have any, because the people that come out here after they've been doing it 3 or 4 years. They have this like feeling of like, oh, I should get past right away, and then they get shut down.
Yeah.
They get stuck back down. It's like for people that started here, we never feel good about.
You also
It's always gonna be shitty out
starting
there.
out here makes you write more too. I'll bet you fucking don't write as much when you're in these towns and you're like, because you probably, I would think when you're 2 years in, if you've been doing comedy 2 years in like Seattle or like Phoenix or anywhere, you probably have 20 minutes pretty quick, and then you have an act 2 years in.
Yeah, then
and
you don't have to write. Yeah,
it's probably not good, but you have an act because you got to do good shows where you don't you learn your act through doing good shows, and then you hear it and you're like, okay, I got 7 laughs through these 20 minutes, 7 big laughs and some chuckles. Like I have an act. Whereas like here, you got to keep writing and get bigger laughs because you see what kind of laughs these other guys are getting, and you're writing more and you don't like. I didn't really have an act until I was like 4 years in.
Yeah,
I remember that's when like I remember when I was doing gigs like for the first 3 years like if I was doing 10 minutes one night, the next night that 10 minute set was gonna be different. Whereas like today, if I'm doing 20, 30, I know exactly what I'm doing. It's an act. Like you. So it's like I don't think you should have an act when you're 3 years in.
Exactly.
I think you
don't
should be
think,
writing,
I think you should be
exploring,
working towards your best
trying
5.
different jokes. Yes, all the time. Whereas like if you start somewhere else, you have an act, and it's probably bad, and it's probably just like based off of where you got laughs, and it's not really your point of view.
Totally. And
So
that's what you
there's
came
that.
out here. You fucking jumped it up. We're almost to an hour, yeah, you did it. And now. Well, let people know where they can find you, like online and stuff.
You just go to Michael Lenoci.
Michael
anything,
Lenoci.
and then you'll be fine.
At Michael Lenoci.
Yeah.
And you're out on the road a lot with Crystalia, and you started opening for him a while back, right?
I started hosting for him in 2013.
Yeah.
I would host like kind of locally, and then in 2015 he started letting me do a feature spot.
Do feature stuff,
Yeah.
and you've been out on the road a lot lately. Just got a huge thing up in Montreal. You just got JFL and New Faces, which, today that's as close as we'll ever get to a Carson type thing. That's kind of like
that felt good.
It gives you you
Yeah,
have a chance now.
That gives you validation.
Hell yeah, dude.
For sure.
So you got great things going. And it all started
in Coral Springs.
Which
is was a town made based off racism
and beans
and green beans.
Green beans, specifically green beans, the titan of the bean patch.
Which is crazy. I didn't know that, but I mean.
Well, now you know, and now you know that the spirit, the work ethic of Henry Lyons, and John Hunt. And
that's
now,
where it comes from. The work ethic.
The work
Coral
ethic
Springs,
of Michael Lenoci.
Coral Springs develops great work ethic.
Yep.
You
Once every 50 years.
If you have a passion and a vision, like Henry and the Tarabella guy, he had a vision for what he was building.
Exactly.
So that's how that works.
So keep an eye out for Michael Lenoci. He's got the spirit of the bean patch in him, and he's going to do great things.
I'm actually going to get a tattoo of a bean.
You should. All right, thanks so much for coming on, man.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having us.
Hell yeah.